Here it is, everybody. The very first LEGO Legend of Zelda set. It's finally real. This is the first of hopefully more to come down the lineup. But here it is, the LEGO Great Deku Tree, a 2-in-1 build, which we'll talk about more about in just a second. You're going to be getting 2,500 pieces with this set. The set number is 77092. It's going to have a price tag of $300 when it goes on sale September 1st of 2024. Ever since LEGO announced their partnership with Nintendo a few years back and started off with LEGO Super Mario, everybody has been asking and just wondering, when are we getting Zelda sets? And here it is, the very first one. Now, this is quite a strange concept. Not to LEGO fans, but maybe to Zelda fans. This is a 2-in-1 set. What is that referring to? Well, you actually can build two different Deku trees. One from Breath of the Wild, which is shown here on the front of the box. But when we turn the box around, you'll notice that there is a completely different build from Ocarina of Time. So you can choose which Zelda game build you want to do, but you have to decide that up front when you start the build. Now, obviously, you can take apart the set and build the other variant, but you have to choose at the beginning. And some fans might go out of their way, and yes, you can do this, pay $600, buy two of these sets, and build one of each tree if that's how you want to have this set displayed. I'm not recommending that. With that said, I think both builds look crazy cool. I cannot wait to put them together. But let's also mention the fact that it's not just Deku trees that are included in this set. You do have a full lineup of figures and characters from the games, meaning from Breath of the Wild, we have Princess Zelda as well as Link. And then from Ocarina of Time, we have the young version of Link as well as the adult version. And at the very end here, at the end of the box, you might notice something. There is the Master Sword, brand new LEGO element, as well as the Hylia shield. So, yeah, diehard Zelda fans, LEGO is going the extra mile, at least it seems like, to make sure all bases are covered. Now, again, $300 seems like a lot of money for this type of set. Only time will tell in this review whether I think that is worth the price tag or not. Right now, I'm on the fence. This does seem like a really cool concept, but is it going to be worth that price tag? We'll see. With that said, I do want to thank LEGO for sending this set over for review. Let's go into the in-depth and see what the two different variants of Deku trees look like. Oh boy, this is going to be quite the extensive review. I have a lot of thoughts about the Zelda set, but first, let's talk about the fact that there is no stickers in this set, which is definitely something that caught me by surprise. You'll find that there is over 23 bags of pieces, but spoiler alert, you're not going to end up using all of these bags no matter what build you choose. More on that in a minute, but first let's take a look at the beginning of the instruction booklet. Some beautiful art here, followed by an explanation of each version of the Deku tree, whether it's from the Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild game. It's up to you, of course, to choose which build, but first, LEGO just throws you into the build. It doesn't tell you to decide up front on this very first page, and there is a reason for that. To my surprise, LEGO has you build the set up until this point right here. You're going to build Link's house, this front base area where the Master Sword sits, as well as a part of the Deku tree. Then the booklet has you decide, hey, are you going to build the Breath of the Wild variant or the Ocarina of Time variant? You have to decide about halfway through the build. Now, I did build both Deku trees, and I'm going to tell you about the experience here in a minute. Now, it isn't necessarily uncommon for LEGO to have you build up to a certain point and then decide what version of the build you want to do. We see this with the bonsai tree or the LEGO Ideas Fender guitar set, but with the Zelda build, it gets a little bit more complex because it's such a sizable set. Most Creator 3-in-1 or Technic 2-in-1 sets will just have you disassemble the entire set and start over. Whereas with the Deku tree, once you decide which path you want to take of which version you want to build, well, then it just has you picking out certain bags here to proceed with the build. Now, I knew going into this I wanted to build the Ocarina of Time version and then build the Breath of the Wild version last because that was the version I wanted to keep built on my shelf. So here it is, and it looks fantastic, but I was completely shocked to see that when you build the Ocarina of Time variant, well, you're going to have 5 sealed Lego bags of pieces that you will never use if you're only planning on building this version. That is insane to me. Now, other themed Lego sets like Creator and Technic will have leftover pieces, but I don't recall having this many extra pieces when you're doing the second or third variant of a model. But the story gets even more complex. It's not even just all the leftover pieces when you build the Ocarina of Time variant, it's when you want to switch it to the different build is where the real controversy begins. But before I get into that, let's go into the minifigures. Let's start talking about the set. First up, we have young Link. This has the wooden shield here, which is what you start off in the game. We have a little sword as well, and you can see that this is a great looking figure. It has a brand new mold for his hat there. His hair looks really good. He has a little cutesy face going on for the younger version, and then we have dual molded legs there, a little skirt piece, dual molded arms. I mean, great looking figure. Next, we have the adult version of Link from Ocarina of Time, and you can see that he is holding a brand new molded Lego element of Ocarina of Time, the musical instrument from the game. That is honestly uncalled for. I did not expect Lego to make an all-new mold for that. Then we have the Hylian shield here. That's a beautiful printed element that I know Zelda fans want. And then again, the figure looks fantastic. We have dual molded legs again, dual molded arms again, and just great printing overall. Same hat being utilized from the young version of Link. And we also have a new face, which has Link yelling. Finally, we have the Breath of the Wild version of Link. We have 3 different variants of the character in this one set, which is hilarious. We have a printed shield, which is utilizing the Captain America mold. And then we also have this large sword, which I believe is from the Lord of the Rings Rivendell set, among other sets as well. And as for the Breath of the Wild variant of Link, well, as you can see, again, dual molded arms, dual molded legs, excellent printing, has one of my favorite color schemes, Dark Azure. I love that blue color. And just overall, the details are there, and it is utilizing the same head print as the older version of Link from Ocarina of Time. And finally, the last figure is Princess Zelda. And you might notice something, a little trend going on here between all these minifigures, dual molded legs and dual molded arms. I love seeing this. The figure looks fantastic. We have a printed tablet as well as on a 1x2 tile. Then she also has a brand new hair mold, which has her little elf ears there on the side. And you can see she also has a sleeping, eyes closed face, as well as some great details on her back torso. Now, next is not considered a minifigure, but Lego has a brick-built Hestu here, and he has actual working maracas where if you shake them back and forth, it'll make the sound that you would expect because of the loose studs inside these containers. Definitely a fun inclusion. Now, before we get onto the main Deku tree, let's take a look at Link's house. This is a nice little side build that you actually end up putting together first before you start anything else. And I actually like how detailed and surprisingly, there's some good techniques being utilized here for the little house. At the front here, we have a 2x3 printed tile. Let me know what this says down in the comments below. On the opposite side, we have a flying Navi here, which has a blue light, which is the standard one, but there's also different studs that you can change out the light for. Entering Link's house, you'll notice there's a nice ladder out the front, some little guardrails as well, and then on the back side, on the upper half, we have a little bed for him to sleep in, a little curtain, just to give him a little privacy there. You could also put other figures here as well, and then on the bottom side, we have a large crate which has some fun Easter eggs. Now, the instruction booklet also mentions that you can put the Hylian shield here if you want, but I prefer that on the minifigure. But the items here included are fully listed out on the instruction booklet, which includes a magic jar, a red potion, a bomb, a compass, and of course the headshot. Now, after you build Link's house, the next item you'll build is this frontal section in which it holds the Master Sword, and it looks so awesome there sitting, and you can of course take it out, and oh my goodness, the detail on the Master Sword is absolutely there. It is gonna please Zelda fans. It's gonna please Lego fans. I love the dual molded factor. It looks fantastic in person. Even has a little stud connection there on the bottom. Looks even better with the Hylian shield. And of course, you can act out different scenes or whatever you honestly want to place here. Hardcore Zelda fans will notice there's some little plants here, including an Endora shroom, and on the opposite side, we have the Hylian shroom. Finally, we have some hardy radish, and then also some silent princess hidden in the back there. And the details here are just the beginning for this frontal section. We haven't even gotten to the Deku tree. And speaking of which, let's finally take a look at the Ocarina of Time variant of this tree. It's definitely the lesser version because it uses less pieces, but you'll still find plentiful amounts of detail, including a tree sprout, which actually is also a printed piece here. That's incredible to see. And then you'll also find 2 Deku Babis. So these plants are very well known in Ocarina of Time. They're fun to fight, and they look pretty accurate. They're brick built, obviously, and they actually have a decent range of motion. So, of course, you can have whatever variant of Link fighting against them. It's a lot of fun seeing this in LEGO for the first time. And off to the right of the Deku tree, you'll find a Gossip Stone, which has another printed element on a 2x2 tile. Getting into the Deku tree, first off, we have to talk about the bottom side. You'll notice these different lily pads everywhere, nice little plant details, some roots here and there. You can have Link, of course, walking up to the Deku tree, and his mouth does function where it does open up like you see in the game. And as we enter the Deku tree, the inside reveals a crate here on the right side, which has some slingshots in it, which of course is referencing young Link's very first weaponry he uses in Ocarina of Time. And on the back side, you'll notice that you can release the Skull Tula. This is on a fairly simple function. It's just on a basic rope and stud, and it just rolls up on the inside. It doesn't work the greatest. It has some friction problems, at least for how I built it. And on either side of the Deku tree, we have some hidden compartments having some fun Easter eggs inside them, including a weapon upgrade. On the upper half of the backside, you'll notice a large spider web, and then on the final part of this tree, which is the very top, we have all the different tree limbs. Now, I think this looks fairly good. I like what LEGO has done here. Yes, it's utilizing this kind of new leaf element, but I think the execution's pretty good. I also want to note that the eyes for the Deku tree are just sailor hats colored in brown. I thought that was an ingenious part usage. And just the overall look of this Deku tree from Ocarina of Time, I think looks quite fantastic, especially when the original reference material is quite low res. Now, lastly, you do have the option to reattach this section. Even though it might not be game accurate, it still enhances the build, I think, and makes it feel bigger. So that's everything I have to say about the Ocarina of Time version of the Deku tree. What about the Breath of the Wild variant? Now, I have a lot of thoughts on the process of switching between the two models, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, this is considered the main build of the model. It is the one that uses the most amount of the pieces that LEGO has provided. But you are still going to have at least one bag's worth of pieces after you finish this build. And it should be noted that nowhere in the instruction booklet will it tell you that you were supposed to have this many pieces left over, no matter which tree build you go with, which I think is a big mistake. It's going to confuse fans when they're finished building this tree. Now, thankfully, it is significantly less parts than, say, the 5 bags from the Ocarina of Time variant, but still, I was surprised that not all of the pieces were utilized in the Breath of the Wild Deku tree. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is like a hybrid model between the two. And so first off, what changes are there between the previous Ocarina of Time variant? Well, first off, on the front side there, we have 2 additional trees. That's really the only change up front. Then on the back side of the Deku tree on either side, left and right, you'll find a tree sapling as well as a larger tree. Even though we're really only talking about adding 4 trees to the environment, I gotta say it really just adds a fullness to the set. It feels a lot more like a finished product. Whereas with the Ocarina of Time, it did feel a little bit more barren. Couple that with the fact we have larger roots here sticking out from the Deku tree, obviously because it's aged so much, and I just love these details. It kind of gives a more swampy-esque feel. Now, just like the Ocarina of Time variant, we also have a movable face here, not just the mouth, but the eyes as well, or really the eyebrows, and I just love the expression. It is so awesome. It really makes the tree come alive. You'll also notice the addition of a Korok here, which has a printed little tart tile, which is adorable. And then going on the interior of this Breath of the Wild variant, you'll notice there is actually significantly more details on the inside compared to the Ocarina of Time version. More Koroks can be found on the inside, as well as the Iron Shroom, as well as the Razor Shroom. Plus, we have a little fire pit. And then on the opposite end, we have a little bed here that you could put Zelda, or you could put Link there as well. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, which interior you like more. Moving upwards to the tree to the top portion, now in the Ocarina of Time variant, there was nothing here, but on the Breath of the Wild version, well, you'll find a lot of different Easter eggs. Details like another printed Navi piece, and then off to the left, we have another Korok, Walton, and then we also have some fairies represented in leaves, and then we also even have a red apple hiding there as well. And just like the previous variant of the Deku tree, there is those hidden compartments off to the side that you can open up, revealing even further Easter eggs. Like, for example, another place to put the tablet.
Now let's talk about the fact of the two variants of the tree. Well, first off, that extra bag 22, you should absolutely build and just make these accessories, even though they're accordance to the Ocarina of Time game. They're still fun accessories you should absolutely build, and the instruction booklet doesn't make a point about it at all. And that brings up the controversy that I have with the Deku tree set. Both variants of the Deku tree are excellent builds. I think they're both really cool. It's incredible and an achievement to LEGO that you can build both of these trees within the same set. However, that is coming at the cost of extra pieces, more so on the Ocarina of Time variant, less so on the Breath of the Wild version. Coupled with the fact that the instruction booklet doesn't explain what extra pieces you'll have with both variants of the set, then you have the fact that it doesn't show you how to take apart the tree to get back to that kind of mid-stage hybrid version of the tree to start the next build. It doesn't explain any of that. You're literally on your own with what comes in the set. Now, LEGO could change that by utilizing their LEGO Builder digital instructions app, but time will tell. Finally, in terms of comparing other LEGO sets to the Zelda Deku tree, I have the Ideas Family Tree here, which retails for $80. So we're comparing an $80 set to a $300 set, and they're surprisingly the same scale. Now, again, this doesn't really make the most sense, but people might be cross-shopping the Legend of Zelda Deku tree alongside Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. This is a $500 set compared to a $300 set. They're both expensive in their own right. But I also want to note that with Rivendell, you're getting over 6,000 pieces, 20 plus minifigures. You're getting a lot for that $500, and I don't feel the same about the Deku tree at $300. And then just for fun, I also have the brand new Nightmare Before Christmas set, which is also releasing alongside the Zelda set come early September. When you look at these two side by side, it's hard to believe there's a $100 difference between the two of them. So on paper, the 2-in-1 concept should have been fairly simple. You just take apart one tree and build the other. But LEGO instead opted for a hybrid model, which really complicated the disassemble of one of the trees if that's the way you go.
I thought going into this review, the only controversial factor of this set would be the price tag. But to my surprise, the 2-in-1 process for switching out the two different builds, well, it's just bad execution. With what LEGO has done here in the instruction booklet is disappointing. In fact, this is going to frustrate specific builders who want to build both versions of the Deku tree, to build one and switch it out to the other. Now, if you have no plans to ever switch out whatever build you choose up front, if that's not a case where you're only going to stick with one build, let's say the Breath of the Wild version, then you're going to have a normal, great LEGO experience. The instruction booklet does do justice for, going with one of the other versions. It's when you want to switch it after you've built one is where the controversial part of this set becomes a big issue. It's not explained how to take this apart. It's frustrating. I didn't have the hardest time reverse engineering the build and taking things apart, but that's because I switched the two builds out within the same day. If I had waited a week, a month, a year, this would have been a much worse experience to me, and I think it will be for you guys, because I wouldn't remember where this goes or where that needs to be taken apart, and ultimately I was taking apart the entire set when that's not necessary according to the instruction booklet, because both sets are basically a hybrid of one another, and you only need to disassemble a portion of the set, but that's not explained how to do that in the instruction booklet, no matter what version of this you build up front. And then couple that with the fact you'll have so many extra pieces no matter what build you go with, and it doesn't say that's normal in the instruction booklet either. It's going to have LEGO fans calling up customer service asking, why do I have so many extra pieces? I thought I built the set right. But that's not explained in this instruction booklet. Maybe I'm making this too big of a deal, but I do feel like this is going to be a pain point for certain fans that are picking up this set. And I think it's justified to complain about this considering the price tag. And speaking of which, let's talk about that. Is this set worth $300? I mean, I gotta say, this is a beautiful looking build. No matter which version of the Deku tree you go with, I think they're both beautiful. I love the set. The minifigures are out of this world, and all printed pieces. I constantly complain, and you guys know this, about sticker usage in sets, especially when it gets out of hand. But this set has 0 stickers, and that is quite an accomplishment, because it's not like LEGO skimped out and didn't do any printed pieces for this set. There's so many printed pieces unique to this set, and it shows that they went the extra mile. But that also shows that you are paying the extra price for that. Of course, couple that with the Nintendo license factor. But that makes this set incredibly conflicting to me. If it had stickers, then I would automatically say, yeah, $300, no way, this is overpriced. Move on, just wait for a sale. But when you consider the amount of unique prints in this set, the new molded pieces for the minifigures, the new Master Sword, like so many things that are unique about this set, it does help justify that $300 price tag. But then I remember how bad the 2-in-1 experience is, and I come back to the same place where I just don't think I can recommend this set at $300. I think a lot of you are still going to pick this up anyways come September 1st. But if you can wait, if you're not itching to buy this day one, I think $250, $220 is the sweet spot area to get the Legend of Zelda Deku Tree set. Because I really think if you choose just one of the builds and not try to build both, you're going to have a great time. You're going to love the figures included in this set. You're going to love the fact that the set looks so beautiful. It does remind me of the Lord of the Rings Rivendell set. That is still a better set, don't get me wrong. But I love nature. I love this type of vibe. You know, this is what I want in my room, in my Lego room. This is what I like to build in my own MOCs. And so I really appreciate sets like this. It's a nice scale. It doesn't take up too much room. I think the overall build in terms of techniques being utilized is quite excellent. So if I just exclude the fact that the 2-in-1 factor is just badly executed within the instruction booklet, what we have here is quite an extraordinary Lego Legend of Zelda set. I just wish it wasn't priced so high. I definitely want to hear your opinion down in the comments below. This is quite an interesting set. It's the first of its kind Legend of Zelda Lego set. You know, all printed pieces, brand new molded parts, a high price tag, and it doesn't have a good price per piece ratio. There's so many things happening within this set, and I think the comments are going to be quite an interesting read. Thanks again to LEGO for sending this set over for review. Hope you guys have a great and wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.